Sigiriya is also the location of an ancient city situated on a towering monolithic rock, 650 feet above the city of Dambulla, in the Matala district of Sri Lanka. Every day, thousands of tourists are captivated by this site, which has been recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1982. There is a belief that the giant monolithic rock appears unnatural with its perfectly flat surface, almost as if it were cut with precision. According to modern archaeologists, the first settlement in Sigiriya was the Lion Rock Fortress, built in the 5th century AD. Most of the site, including the palace and large granite water tanks, was constructed during the reign of the controversial King Kashyapa. However, local inhabitants believe that this ancient site existed thousands of years earlier, built by a Hindu deity named Ravana, who was part of a race of beings known as Asuras. According to legend, these deities descended from heaven and controlled certain humans. According to Hindu epics, it is said that Ravana ruled Sri Lanka from his palace at Sigiriya. The palace was destroyed after a battle with Rama. Could what we see now in Sigiriya possibly be the remnants of Ravana's palace? If the story of Rama's bridge, Rama Setu, turns out to be a true historical account, could the story of Sigiriya also hold some truth? Was Sigiriya actually used by ancient civilizations, perhaps even by Hindu deities, thousands of years before King Kashyapa built his fortress there? The area around Sigiriya shows traces of human presence since the Mesolithic period around 5,000 years ago. There is also evidence that various caves and rock shelters in the area were used by Buddhist monks in the centuries before the Common Era. However, conventional archaeologists want us to believe that the site was first used during the reign of King Kashyapa in the late 5th century. Kashyapa was the king of Sri Lanka from 473 to 495 AD, and he came to power after arranging the murder of his father before seizing the throne from under his legitimate heir, his brother. Concerned for his safety, legend has it that King Kashyapa fled to the area around Sigiriya. There, he established a fortress on a megalithic rock, believed to be an impregnable stronghold against his brother's forces. However, eventually, Kashyapa's forces faced defeat. Surprisingly, Kashyapa chose to end his own life rather than be captured by the enemy forces. After his death, his brother Moggallana handed over the Sigiriya site to Buddhist monks, who then turned it into a monastery until the 14th century. There were periods when Sigiriya was abandoned and became uninhabited in the 15th century. The first Western discovery of the site occurred when Jonathan Forbes, a major in the British Army, stumbled upon it while riding a horse. After the discovery of ancient ruins in Sigiriya by Forbes, several Western archaeological teams conducted small excavations in the area in the following years, and they were overwhelmed by their findings. There are many indications of advanced engineering skills in Sigiriya. This ancient city has one of the best preserved examples of urban planning, and the layout of the site demonstrates engineering and technological prowess far more advanced than what was assumed for that period. The layout of the city features intentional symmetrical and asymmetrical aspects created by the builders to interact with the natural environment surrounding the site. There are various structures within the site, but archaeologists do not have definite knowledge of their purposes, so the general conjecture is that they served as fortifications, palaces, residences, and luxurious gardens. One part of the site has a tiered pyramid-like shape, with features reminiscent of sites in the Mesoamerican region. On the western side of the city, there is a garden, and here additional signs of sophisticated ancient engineering skills were found. This garden includes various water management structures, including a complex hydraulic system to supply water to the garden. This unique design consists of channels, reservoirs, dams, and even water pumps, showcasing meticulous planning in the construction of the site. Some of these hydraulic systems are still functioning today, providing water to the area. Many structures were found atop the monolithic rock. Archaeologists were baffled as they attempted to explain how these brick stones ended up here. It's reported that there are at least 3 million brick stones here, but it would be impossible to produce these bricks at the top of the rock, as there isn't enough clay available here. Although we speculate that the bricks were magically produced at the top of the rock itself, the construction work here undoubtedly required hundreds of laborers. How did they obtain food? Look around, there are no fruit-bearing trees or plants growing here to feed anyone. And what about tools? How did they transport large primitive tools? Where did they rest and sleep? And if the ancient builders transported these bricks from the ground, how did they carry about 3 million brick stones to the top of the rock without any stairways from the ground to the top? The metal stairs currently present were only constructed in the last century to allow tourists to visit the site. In addition to the prominent brickwork as a feature of the site, attention is drawn to the large white marble beams that form numerous pathways and staircases in the palace complex. This white marble did not originate from the surrounding area, and the source of this marble remains a mystery to archaeologists. Each marble beam used was incredibly heavy, and there were thousands of them. How did the ancient builders transport such massive marble beams to the top of the rock without the use of stairs? This question challenges the archaeological perspective on the construction of this ancient city. Despite the presence of modern metal stairs at the site today, it takes up to 2 hours to reach the summit. How did primitive people manage to transport tons of materials to the top without clear pathways? Archaeologists have noticed peculiar carved markings on the sides of the rock that resemble narrow channels. Archaeologists confirm that these markings were carved in ancient times, but it remains a mystery how these markings were carved on the rock in places where there is no ledge for a person to stand on. There are also deep borings made into the monolithic rock near the summit. Once again, archaeologists struggle to explain how these holes were created using primitive tools. Near the boreholes, we can find peculiar groove marks. Their purpose and method of creation remain a mystery. Right next to the groove marks, there is another bored hole that penetrates the depth of the rock. All these strange markings indicate the existence of advanced machinery capable of carving or even melting stone. However, the most impressive feature of the entire site is not the brickwork, marble beams, or even the unusual boreholes. Instead, it is the large granite water tank that takes the spotlight. From a distance, the water tank appears to be made of granite blocks. However, upon closer inspection, we realize that the tank is actually carved into the extremely hard granite. The massive tank has impressive dimensions, with a length of up to 90 feet, a width of 68 feet, and a depth of nearly 7 feet. It is estimated that over 3,500 tons of granite had to be manually moved to construct this structure. Granite is one of the hardest stones in the world. If humans at that time only used primitive chisels and hammers, it would have taken years to complete. Therefore, did the ancient workers really spend years carving this granite tank, or are we seeing evidence of advanced technology in ancient times? If you visit the site and observe the granite pool, what catches your attention is the absence of chisel or hammer marks. Instead, you will see spoon-like patterns that appear to be carved, similar to megalithic sites in Egypt and Peru. Some scholars have proposed that the ancient builders had knowledge of manipulating the frequency of the stone, making it soft and easy to work with and carve. Could it be possible that this was their method of processing large quantities of granite from the summit of Sigiriya? The remarkable feature of the tank is that it always remains filled with water, even during the hot summers in Sri Lanka. Water is consistently present in the tank, which is a technological marvel even for us with modern technology. The tank appears to collect water through percolation, a process where water slowly passes through filters. However, the tank is also equipped with a drainage system at its base, preventing overflow even during the rainy seasons in Sri Lanka. All these engineering marvels raise many unanswered questions about the construction of the Sigiriya site. From the unusual spoon-like patterns on granite to the amount of material required to build various structures, they all indicate that we are looking at a site that is far more ancient, possibly dating back to pre-Diluvian times. Could Sigiriya be a relic of a lost ancient civilization due to floods or natural disasters? Or was this site, situated high in the sky, used as a place of refuge during floods? The local inhabitants around the area not only believe this, but also have legends stating that it is not just the work of an advanced civilization, but also the creation of beings descending from the heavens. As mentioned, there are no ancient staircases leading to the pinnacle of the structure. Many researchers argue that due to the absence of stairs, the ancient builders of this site may have possessed anti-gravity technology and possibly even flying vehicles. This idea aligns with various local traditions in the area. According to folklore, the city of Sigiriya is said to have been built by a group of gods who descended from the sky. They came to earth and modeled Sigiriya after their wealthy godly residence, Kuvera. Another local legend convinces visitors that Sigiriya was once the palace of Ravana, the ancient deity king of Sri Lanka. The legends also state that the enormous granite tank was Ravana's swimming pool and that the oldest part of the site was also built by him. According to ancient texts found in Sri Lanka and India, Ravana was not an ordinary human but had celestial origins. It is said that Ravana belonged to a race known as Asuras, described in Indian texts as incredibly powerful beings who came to earth thousands of years ago. Many believe that these stories are not just mythology, but ancient historical records of visits by other races to earth. Could the Asuras be the original builders of Sigiriya? Did they use advanced technology to transport all the materials needed to construct this city? In Hindu mythology, we find numerous references to vimanas, flying vehicles used by the gods to travel from heaven to earth and around the planet. One highly significant Indian text, the Mahabharata, mentions the aerial cities owned by the Asuras, the same deity race as Ravana. Could the Asuras have utilized vimanas to aid in the construction of Sigiriya? Some sources claim that the Asuras were hybrid creatures, and Ravana himself is sometimes depicted as a reptilian god in Hindu mythology. Sigiriya may hold some answers regarding its origin. As you begin the climb to Sigiriya, before reaching the summit, you will face a series of stairs with hardly any resting spots. However, there is a flat area midway where people rest briefly before continuing towards the peak. This place is highly intriguing as it reveals something unusual. You will encounter two giant statue feet positioned at the front gate. At first glance, the claws at Sigiriya appear to be only 3. However, upon closer observation, you will also notice the presence of smaller toes. So on each foot, there are 3 large toes and 1 small toe. This leads many to believe that these statues might depict a certain reptilian creature. Local residents refer to them as lion claws because many experts believe that these footprints belong to a lion. However, this perspective is mistaken. Lions do not have 4 toes, they have 5 toes. A lion possesses 4 large claws and 1 small claw. Here, the ancient builders clearly depict the presence of 3 large toes and 1 small toe. This concrete evidence raises a question. What kind of animal has toes like these? Most ancient reptiles had 3 large toes, and that's what can be found at the entrance of Sigiriya. Some local residents refer to these feet as belonging to Ravana. However, how could Ravana be a reptile? In certain ancient texts, it's mentioned that Ravana wasn't entirely human. Only his father was human. On the other hand, Ravana's mother belonged to a different species, likely a reptile. So when Ravana was born, he possessed traits of a hybrid species. Some even associate him with the Nephilim giants mentioned in ancient Christian and Hebrew texts. In some ways, Ravana was human. In other ways, he deviated from the typical human characteristics. It's widely known that Ravana was at least 10 feet tall, and he exhibited distinct reptilian traits. He had the ability to shapeshift and alter his appearance to deceive others. This is often associated with reptilian creatures. Another characteristic associated with Ravana is his ability to become nearly invisible when blending into his surrounding environment. Clues about Ravana's reptilian appearance can be found in various ancient texts. One text known as the Ramakian clearly mentions that Ravana had green lizard-like skin. Even in modern times, various types of reptiles, including snakes, are named after King Ravana. According to ancient texts in Tamil and Sinhala, the native inhabitants of Sri Lanka are a race of creatures known as dragons. Although Naga is now more commonly known as a snake in these ancient texts, Naga is the name for hybrid reptilian creatures that eventually had to dwell underground, and some believe that they still exist to this day. The more we study ancient texts, the stranger the stories about Sri Lanka and Sigiriya become. What is your opinion on the Sigiriya site? Is it possible that it was built by primitive humans with simple tools, or are there more stories behind it? Could humans, without advanced technology, have transported over 3 million bricks and marble blocks to that height, while cutting and moving 3.5 tons of granite from the site without stairs? In your view, could conventional archaeologists be mistaken in assuming that this site originated from builders in the 5th century? Should they be more open to the idea that ancient builders with unknown advanced technology were the original inhabitants of this site? And could Sigiriya have been built by Ravana, or an alien race known as the Ajuras? Is the Sigiriya site the abode of a group of reptilian gods who possess technology far beyond that of humans? Did the Ajuras descend from the sky to interact with humans and alter the course of our history, as revealed in ancient texts?